If you want to support the show, you can go to mwpnews.com/support, where you can pick up my latest book, Succession Planning, and all my other books that have previously been released on Kindle for only $2.99 each. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam on this. I don't know what the weather is. I always start out that way. I'm beware of spoilers. But today we have a lot of stories regarding trailers. We actually have 5 trailers that dropped this week from major franchises. Mostly, I think it's mostly series at this point. Not a lot of movie trailers. And part of that comes from the strike. Let's just get that out of the way. The strikes last year have led to a situation where this year we have a lack of new release movies. We don't have a huge release slate in 2024 because a lot of things that were in production for release in 2024 got delayed due to both the WGA and the SAG strikes. So rather than, because the whole thing was ridiculous, because rather than just giving in at the beginning and getting, not halting production on things, the AMPTP decided to drag it out and then end up with this kind of dearth of content that ended up happening. So here we have the situation where this year we have not a ton coming out in theaters and not a ton coming out in streaming because things couldn't go into production until very late last year. It wasn't until November that we started getting production starting back up on major releases. Like Deadpool didn't resume production until the week of Thanksgiving. So what we end up with is a situation where we are in for a relatively weak year. And when we look at what's going on with the Oscar race for next year, there's a reason why Dune Part 2 is the clear frontrunner for Best Picture. There are some other movies that could come in. If you look at mwpnews.com, you can see kind of the power rankings where I had them. I think Sing Sing could come in as a contender. I think that Blitz could come in as a contender, but we'll have to see how those turn out in practice when those are released. As for what we have now, we currently have, let's just go down the list. The first one isn't a movie or a TV show, it's a video game. Back at Disney's D23 presentation in 2022, they had a showcase where they showed off all of their upcoming games on there. That was where Snap was revealed, Marvel Snap, which has gone on to be a huge boon for Marvel and for Disney Interactive. They announced the now-canceled Marvel Pokemon Go clone from Niantic, and there were a few other games, like that Disney Dreamlight Valley, I think, was shown there. Oh no, that may have come first. Oh no, it was shown there, and then later that month it was released. They also showcased that Metroidvania that came out last year. There's a lot of things that were announced there. One of the things was this Skydance Interactive game from Amy Hennig, who most people know for Uncharted, that was going to be a Black Panther, Captain America period piece, where you get this. It would be the two of them teaming up during World War II to fight the Nazis, which is, always a fun thing to do. The issue became we didn't have a title, we didn't have any information. We knew that it was Amy Hennig was producing, and we knew Mark Bernardin was one of the writers on it. That was kind of the big deal, announcement out of that. But we didn't know too much else. We got a trailer this week as part of the State of Unreal 5 presentation that announced the game was going to be called Marvel 1943, which is, kind of cool. And it confirmed a lot of things we already know. It's going to be Captain America, Steve Rogers. It was going to be Azuri, the grandfather of T'Challa, as the Black Panther, and we saw some footage, what looked like gameplay, but we'll see if that carries over to the final product. I'm always hesitant to say this far out from a 2025 release that the gameplay or what appears to be gameplay in this trailer will be final. So I'm curious to see how much of this carries over into the final game. Based on what we saw, it looks kind of cool. I'm very interested in this. And let's just pivot for a minute. could this be an indication that we're looking at a repeat of 2022 or 2023 in terms of what 2024 could be, or 2025? Because we have this game, which looks fantastic. We have GTA 6, which is going to do gangbusters for Rockstar, even if the game is just mediocre. But with the amount of development time on that, I don't think that's going to be the case. And then we also have Pokemon Legends Z-A, which I'm not going to hold my breath on because I'm not 100% certain that the Pokemon Company has fully learned its lesson. I think optically it appears they've learned their lesson, but we won't know until this game comes out if they actually have learned their lesson. If that's the case, that could be a great game too. And we're also looking at whatever the launch lineup is for the Switch 2 will be coming next year. We won't know until we get to see the actual quality of these games, and I think that we could have an interesting, Summer Games Fest, but we'll see how that plays out. So that's the first trailer we got this week. I mean, maybe this isn't in chronological order, I just kind of added them in today. Second trailer, The Penguin, which is the upcoming series coming later this year on Max. That is a sequel to the Batman with Robert Pattinson. This is, I think, produced by Matt Reeves, not, I don't know if he wrote every episode, but it's in this universe. It's about Colin Farrell's Penguin. This is a trailer that I saw 2 or 3 weeks ago that I kind of cryptically alluded to. We're going to be seeing this soon, because I was NDA'd and I couldn't be more specific than that. But yes, this is the trailer that I was talking about. I think it looks fantastic. It looks exactly in line with the tone of the movie. I'm very interested in what could come in this universe and what they could be building towards. This is very much the story of what happens in a power vacuum and how do we deal with that after the events of the Batman now, as as the Penguin tries to ascend and become, he says he's not the Kingpin of Gotham, but he wants to, he's that's kind of the role he's going to end up wanting to take, I would assume, based on this trailer. And be the most powerful of the crime bosses in Gotham. And I'm interested to see that story. I'm always down for a good crime story. A good organized crime story will always get my attention. And if this is as good as the Batman, this will definitely be a must-watch for me. So we'll see how that actually looks in practice. Our next one is one that I've been very much looking forward to, and a lot of people have not been looking forward to, based on the discourse that is dominated as a result. The Acolyte trailer was released, and we got a release date of June 4th, I believe. It's the first week in June. We're going to get a special look at it at the screening, June 4th, at the screenings of Phantom Menace, coming next month. Not next month yet, in 2 months. I apologize for the music, because I got an ice cream truck directly outside my house. Very loud ice cream truck. Anyway, it's not coming up that much on the visualizer. Maybe you can't hear it. Either way, I can hear it like fucking no tomorrow. The Acolyte is set at the end of the High Republic era. It tells the story of the rise of the Sith that leads into the prequels, and how the Sith kind of come to where they are as we get to that point. It'll be interesting to see how this fits together. I saw people complaining because it's like Kai Adi Mundi at one point during Phantom Menace says, like, no one's seen a Sith in the Millennium, and it's like, or the Sith thought to be extinct for a millennium, and people were like, see, this is hurting the canon, and it's like, yes, because if there's one key takeaway from the Phantom Menace and all of the prequels, to be honest, it's that the Jedi Council is 100% on top of everything that happens. Like, they don't know what's going on. They're a bunch of assholes. They don't know. They don't care. It doesn't matter. I think it looks interesting. Like, it looks like we're getting a vast array of places. We're getting a vast array of views into this universe. I do like the High Republic era and some of the books that they've done at this time. And it'll be interesting to see how they kind of dovetail that together. I think what it's going to end up being is that they have to say, like, look, the Jedi handled the issue with the Nihil so well, they're going to just kind of be, like, complimentary and all that. So that's going to be how they get their position in the Republic, and being like, okay, so, we'll let them be the Peacekeepers because they handled this so well, we'll just let them be in charge of all that. And then as that starts to deteriorate and as that starts to fall apart, there's going to be the moment of, oh, crap, this is leading to something bad because we know what happens. I think the issue is, unlike Andor, or somewhat like Andor, because Andor had a similar issue where people don't understand the nuance of it. My co-host on on Explorer Hyperspace Lanes being one of those people who didn't quite like Andor, and about it being the story of how the rebellion starts and how the empire and how fascism kind of grows and metastasizes like a cancer, and all of that. If that's going to be the case, I don't know how much of what happens in the Acolyte is going to be understood by a good amount of the viewing audience. I mean, we live in a world where Dune Part 2 came out, and they had to completely change Chani's character just to make it so people would understand Paul is not a good person, and people still don't understand that. Which, it says a lot about where we are with media literacy at this point. And look, I want to see the show succeed, and I think it's going to succeed with the audience that it has. I see a lot of things that kind of lean into The Last Jedi of it all. Like, there are parts of it that I'm like, this looks like Acto. So that could be a good sign that we're getting into some more interesting territory. And it may signal the ability that Lucasfilm is willing to shift into things and be like, why are we going to sit here and, negotiate with a segment of the fan base that is not watching anyway? Why are we going to try and win them back when we have this version of the fan base that does watch and enjoy what we're doing, and doesn't just create video essays about how it sucks? Like, maybe that's where we're going, but we'll have to see how that all plays out as this happens. But it looks like they're taking a risk here. And the other thing that's interesting is anything that, like, obviously the Disney Plus show's purpose is to lead into the Heir to the Empire movie. Because as we know, there are 3 movies in development. There's Heir to the Empire, well, 4. There's Mandalorian and Grogu, which is just season 4 of The Mandalorian. There is, there's the Heir to the Empire movie, which is going to be the big summing up all the Disney Plus shows era. There's Dawn of the Jedi, which is going to be the big, this is where the Jedi come from movie. And then there is the new Jedi Order movie, which is with Rey and what goes on after Rise of Skywalker. The issue is, all the shows, even the ones that have not been in the Mandalorian timeline, which is really just the Mandalorian at this point, Mandalorian and Ahsoka, they provide key context. Like, the one of the things that was interesting about Andor is how the story kind of dovetails in a little bit with The Mandalorian Season 3, namely, like, when we watch Andor, they explain what the thought process is for the rebellion. They don't want to do anything too coordinated because they want everyone to think that they're this disorganized thing. They don't want the Empire to know the Rebel Alliance has already formed. They want them to think they're disorganized. They want them to think they don't know what they're doing. They want them to think that this is a small group of rebels who don't know how to, coalesce into something bigger. So it is this idea of, like, we're going to showcase we're going to make a show of our weakness to make it look like we aren't as big as we are. Then when we do strike, they won't expect it coming. Which is exactly what we see later on when we get to, the Shadow Council meeting in The Mandalorian, where it is, they're doing the same thing. They want to make everyone think that the Empire is just rogue warlords that are all kind of hanging around and not really doing anything besides for personal profit. That way, when they do come together and strike when Thrawn returns, then they have the ability to do that. The Bad Batch has been, setting up cloning and trying to do cloning with maintaining the ability of the cloned person to use the Force, which is Project Necromancer, which is where we also hear them talk about in the Shadow Council. The issue with all of this is all of these shows that may not take place in the same time period are still providing key context. So the interesting question is, will the Acolyte provide context to one of the other movies? Will this provide context to... and I think my theory is it will provide context to Heir to the Empire, because I think Heir to the Empire is going to be filling in the blanks of the rise of the First Order and where the First Order comes from. I think clearly this is going to be the thing where it's like we're providing, like, maybe we don't see the exact fall of the New Republic in Heir to the Empire. Maybe it is they dispel Thrawn and then they like, yay, we did it, and we move on, and it's like they think they did it. That's going to be what this is. It's laying that groundwork for the complacency that comes with thinking you defeated an evil and how that allows the evil to rise again. That, I think, is what the show is going to be fundamentally about, which is going to then be mirrored in Heir to the Empire. This idea, yay, we did it, we stopped, the Empire. but you didn't make sure you fully stopped them. So that's where we are. I think that's what the show's going to be. So we'll see when it comes out, but I think that's kind of where we are. Doctor Who is our next one. We got a trailer for season 14/1. We do know going into the season that Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday will only be the companion for this season. She will not be the companion for season 15, which we know Kurigatwa will be back, which I may have pronounced his name wrong, and I apologize if I did. He will be back for the next season, but we know for a fact she will not. And there's a line in this trailer that I'm like, come on, can you telegraph any clearer that this woman's gonna end up dead? Because it's like, at one point someone asked him, like, you'll keep her safe. He's like, yes, I promise to keep her safe. I'm like, oh, she's dead. She's not living through this season. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm always down for some Doctor Who. I like the idea. We talked about this last week when they put out the teaser and the poster and the release date. I like the idea of them using this as an on-ramp for people who may have, lapsed watching the show. And it'll be interesting to see how that works for people coming in. And I'm interested to see how that kind of, how that all kind of works out. I do still think, and I'm going to stick with this because they've been pulling in a lot of villains from the old show, even pre-revival with Eccleston. They've been pulling in a lot of villains from before that. I think that this really kind of started with, the Trigons making a reappearance in the Day of the Doctor. I think we're going to end up at a point where the bi-generation that we saw is going to be, what's it called? It's going to be the tenant left behind is going to end up being the the Valyard. I'm sticking with that. I think that, maybe not this season, maybe not next season, maybe it's not even under Gatwa's run as the Doctor, but I do think that we end up with that. And I'd be interested to see where that plays. I do want to see them do Evil Doctor as a bad guy. Maybe have him be a season-long bad guy. Or a recurring bad guy. Either way, I hope we get that at some point. Which brings us to our final trailer, Alien Romulus, which is another attempt to bring the Alien franchise back after its dormancy. I am interested because this was produced to be Jesus fucking Christ with this fucking ice cream man. This is produced to be a Hulu original, and we also had a Hulu original for for the Predator franchise with Prey, and that was fantastic. I think they learned their lesson from that, because I think Prey should have ended up in theaters, and I think that they've learned a little bit since then. So this, I think, was originally produced to be a Hulu thing, but then moving it to theatrical was a smart idea. Between that and between Evil Dead Rise, I think this is a good decision. To move this to theatrical. And I'm interested to see what this actually looks like when it does come out. I'm not the biggest fan of Alien to begin with as a franchise. I like the original, like Aliens. Not the biggest fan of what came after. Kind of feel the same way about Terminator. Kind of feel the same way about Predator. It's one of those things where I'm like, it reminds me of Ghostbusters a little bit, where it's like, let's make this into a big franchise, and it's been middling results. So I'm going to go into it with some hesitancy, but the idea that they're moving this to theatrical from streaming does speak to a confidence in the movie that I don't think they would have done otherwise. So we'll see. We will see how that all plays when it does come out. Which brings us to our next segment, which is This Week at the Box Office. Unsurprisingly, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire has taken the number 1 slot at $45.2 million. The number 2 slot is Dune Part 2 with $17.6 million. The number 3 spot down from number 1 is Kung Fu Panda 4 with $16.8 million. Number 4, the newcomer Immaculate with $5.6 million. That is the horror movie with Sydney Sweeney and the Immaculate Conception. And in 5th place, down from number 3, is Arthur the King, which is Mark Wahlberg's dog movie. That is at $4.3 million. Coming to theaters this week, we have Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire, which is the next Godzilla vs. Kong movie, which, you know what? It looks ridiculous. I'm here for it, though. We also have In the Land of Saints and Sinners, which is a very Irish movie with Liam Neeson, noted Irish actor Liam Neeson. Very interested to see where that goes. And then we also have Wicked Little Letters, which is a British movie with Jessie Buckley, and Olivia Colman, which I saw a trailer for before some movie that I saw recently, and it does look mildly entertaining. So I will definitely, it's going to be between those two because it is Easter this weekend. So on Saturday we'll see one of those. I haven't decided which one yet. This week, if you want to expand your home media collection, we have quite a list of releases. Wednesday is coming to home media. The entire first season will be coming to DVD and I believe Blu-ray. Same with Good Burger 2. These are two major streaming releases that if you enjoyed, I would recommend picking them up because we don't know if these will ever be removed from the streaming service for a tax write-off. So I'd recommend picking those up if you like them. In terms of theatrical releases, we have The Iron Claw, which got that is worth picking up. The Book of Clarence and Freud's Last Session are also coming out. And in podcasts this week, let me pull my list up. This week, well, yesterday we put up the review of Princess Peach Showtime. This week we will be doing the expansion for Dune Spice Wars that I did not do. We will also be doing on over on the Backlog Files Pokemon Emerald version. Next week we'll be doing what's that thing called? Stardew Valley 1.6, which I've been playing copious amounts of, and we will finally be getting to the end of, hopefully by the time it's time to do that. On top of that, we also will have, beware of spoilers, we'll have Godzilla and Kong on Friday. We'll be continuing with X-Men 97. We'll be continuing with The Regime. We'll be continuing with The Girls on the Bus. And we will be continuing with, what's the other one called? I forgot what it was called. The Bad Batch. We'll all be continuing. We'll also be doing probably Wicked Little Letters. If not that, if I can't work it into my schedule, then we will be doing In the Land of Saints and Sinners. We will do one of them, probably not both. If we do both, they'll be going on Monday. Programming announcement. So on this, the original intent was to do movie reviews. We will be doing that again, starting in a few weeks when they reissue the Spider-Man movies. We'll be doing rankings of all the Spider-Man movies, all 8 of the ones that are being re-released in theaters. That's Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and then Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. So we'll see how all that kind of plays out. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.